right, we're going to go ahead and begin today's presentation. Thank you again for all of your thoughts. Marykate, our presenter for today, has been looking at these and will be talking about them in just a moment. I'd like to officially welcome you to our presentation today, A New Vision of Literacy Through Visible Thinking Routines and Digital Tools. I am your moderator for today, Kimberly, also known as Kimmy Ottahan. That's me right there. And I'll give you another way to show you I'm a real person over here. I am currently an LMAC student at the University of Michigan, which means that I am getting my Elementary Master of Arts as well as my teaching certificate for elementary school. And it is a one-year program that is just 3 weeks from being completed, so it has been a great year. And I've been student teaching in 4th grade this year and have had an excellent experience. So hello to everybody out there. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our partners for today. Their logos are currently on the screen. Special shout out to my soon-to-be alma mater, the University of Michigan School of Education and School of Information. We'd also like to thank today's sponsors, which include Wowzers, Gloucester EDU, Animoto, SiteLighter, Madonna University's College of Education, and the Michigan Association for Media and Education. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors. We'd also like to thank today's door prize sponsors. Their logos are currently on your screen, and if you're interested in winning a door prize, make sure you fill out the evaluation link at the end of this presentation. If you are applying for sketches, the information is currently on your screen. I'm also going to post the link for more information in the chat box. So it should be there for you. Make sure that you are attending today's full session as well as completing the online application after the full conference. So before we get started, if you've been in any of these presentations over the weekend, you know that we try to keep these presentations as interactive as possible. So I'm going to briefly go over some of the tools that you will be using in today's presentation. If you look on the screen where your name is, underneath there are 4 small boxes. I'm going to highlight them right now. So the one in the far left corner is your emoticon. So if you want to put a smiley face or a confused face in the chat box, you can do so. To the right of that is to let us know that you've stepped away. So if we're doing a poll and you are out getting coffee, we at least won't have to wait for you. So if you're going to step away, just please click the, looks like a little man with a clock. To the right of that is the hand raising tool. If you have a question that you're just dying to ask, feel free to raise your hand, or as always, you can post it in the chat box. Marykate will be fielding questions throughout the presentation, so I will be keeping track of those. And then finally, to the very far right is the polling tool. It currently looks like a check mark, which some of you used earlier to let me know that you could hear me, but other times it will be multiple choice answers. So that is how we're going to take polls throughout today's presentation. On the right side of your screen is the chat box. That should be located underneath the main room with all of the names, and it says chat on it. A lot of you have found it, so feel free to continue to use it through today's presentation and keep this as interactive as possible. And then finally, you have a vertical toolbar, which should look like this. Some tools that we're going to be using in today's presentation include the pointer. It looks like a little starburst. If you click on that and then click on the star, you'll be able to put a little starburst on the screen. We're going to try that one out in just a moment. And then you also are probably privy to the text box feature. That's the one that you were using in the reflection. In order to use that, you just simply click on the A with the lines on it, and click your screen, and type your text. And that should probably be the majority of the tools that we're going to be using for today's presentation. So let's try one out. Let's try out the sunburst little tool. And go ahead and click on the county or the state that you're representing today. I'm going to be putting one in Wayne County because I am representing Livonia, Michigan. Oh, wow, we've got people from all over. Oh, somebody from my favorite state of Hawaii. Welcome. Lots of southeast Florida, Michigan, but we've got some up in the north as well. Arizona, California, like a pretty great group. And Honduras. I saw somebody in Honduras in another presentation too. Welcome. Welcome everybody. This is one of the greatest things about being in a virtual conference is that we can all just sit in our living room and represent places all across the globe. So let's do a poll. I'm going to change the polling tool to be the multiple choice responses right now. And as you can see on your screen, your choices are A for elementary, B for middle school, C for high school, D for post-secondary, or E for other. And feel free to post in the chat box if you're a teacher, an administrator, a specialist, or what your role is. I'm going to put one on elementary, and I'm finishing up fourth grade student teaching. And I'll publish the results in just a moment. Remember to vote. It looks like a lowercase a on the far right side of your screen under your name. All right, I'm going to go ahead and publish the poll results here. We've got a nice group. It looks like the majority of elementary school at this time. Lots of middle and high. And feel free to post in the chat box. I see we have some technology catalysts, some media specialists, so great group of people. Oh, thank you, Eureka. Please keep me informed on that. I will be looking. All right, and now it is my distinct pleasure to present our official presenter for today, Marykate O'Meara. Marykate has been phenomenal to work with, and I'm kind of sad that this experience is almost over. But Marykate has been a teacher for 33 years, and she has a wide variety of experience. She has taught all grades from pre-K all the way up to 5th grade. She has taught in Appalachia and reservation schools in Colorado, and has also taught in inner-city schools in Flint and Detroit. She currently teaches a 1st through 3rd grade multi-age classroom in Grosse Pointe Park, Michigan for the Grosse Pointe Public Schools. She has developed a passion for project-based learning, STEM, and educational technology. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn our presentation over to Marykate.
Thank you, Kimmy. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for being such a wonderful person to work with. I feel as you do. I'm sad that this experience is ending and that we're not working together continuously after this. Kimmy has this just amazing positive attitude. She's a constant ray of sunshine. She has been encouraging right from the start. She's had some fabulous ideas about how to tweak the presentation to make this fly after many, many revisions. So it's greatly appreciated, Kimmy, to have met you and worked with you. I would also like to thank everybody who is joining us this morning. Welcome. It's so exciting to see people from all over the United States and other countries. I'm thrilled to be a part of the virtual 4T conference. It's been amazing to work with Liz Kolb and the other facilitators and presenters and moderators. I truly have learned so much from them. And I think what drew me to this conference is the fact that it's about teachers teaching teachers. And I think we as teachers bring a wealth of experience, our expertise, our perspective. When we come together and we share that, I really believe that we create something very powerful. So it's a privilege, and I'm so happy to be able to share this morning with you. So hopefully you have your coffee, you're all good to go, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to touch on group norms so that we have a shared understanding of our expectations. Even though we can't see you in your laptop with your laptop or your computer, we would hope that you would be invisible to us in other ways as well. So we encourage you to engage. We really would like you to share your comments and your ideas and ask questions. Use those emoticons. We would like to hear your voice. And the other piece is that we're a micro community and we would like you to support that community learning. And you can do that by offering resources as different topics come up. Add your comments. And I actually see this as a way to build your network. You know, go out there and make a friend. If you see that somebody's comments are resonating with you, reach out to that person and share contact info. Or on the other hand, if you see that someone's sharing a lot of concerns or questions and your expertise can help that person out, you know, reach out to that person. So share the love. And lastly, if you are experiencing any kind of technical difficulty, just put your concern in the comment box and Kimmy will assist you as best she can. Our goals and outcomes for this session are three basic ones. By the end of this, you should clearly understand the concept of making thinking visible and what thinking routines are. You should be very clear about how you can use those thinking routines and across a unit, actually, of any type, at the beginning, middle, and end of a unit of study. And you should also become acquainted with the SAMR and EEE framework and be able to use those digital tools to pair with the thinking routine in order to develop a literacy lesson. Before we get into the content of the webinar, we'd like to kind of center our thoughts around essential elements of the 21st century, and we have those separated into three categories: technology skills, literacy skills, and thinking skills. And the site I love, I use this with my kids a lot when we're doing our thinking routines. Scrambler is a virtual whiteboard, and when you go to that site that Kimmy has posted in the chat box, you're going to find that in the lower left corner there is a plus sign, and that will allow you to make a post-it note in each of those three concentric circles. So if you could take a minute to do that, and then when you have returned, if you could put a green checkbox so that we know you're back, that would be wonderful. I love all of the thoughts that I saw being shared on the screen. I use this tool a lot with the kids, and the Scribbler boards are able to be saved so that as you go through and add to them, you can see how thinking shifts and changes across the board. There are so many comments that have so much to them. I wish we could spend all morning and discuss them, but unfortunately our webinar time doesn't allow for that. But a lot of the pieces that were mentioned there we're going to talk about as we go through and talk about making thinking visible and the use of digital tools. Before we do that, I would like to talk about or to touch on my idea of a framework for literacy. The title of the session was Creating a New Framework with Digital Tools. So I thought it would probably be a good thing to share what framework it is that I have in mind. I love this quote by David Buckingham because I feel it encapsulates the three underpinnings of literacy. In a nutshell, I feel that literacy really does involve not only understanding how the language works, but being able to use the language. Today we do things with oral language, phonemic awareness, fluency, and meaning structure in our readers' workshops and our other literacy lessons. And when I look at the areas of reading and writing together, it becomes very clear to me that it's also about production and audience, because in doing those two things, you have to have an awareness of your position as a reader and a writer and a user, and an awareness of that and the people who are creating the messages. And it seems the traditional view of literacy has been with us through the ages, and it still continues, but there are new literacies that are developing. And that is because there are new information and communication technologies that are coming about, and both the essence of reading and reading instruction is changing. So the definition of literacy is becoming more broadly conceived, and we see that there are a lot of other literacies that are developing. As things like gaming, software develops, video technologies, web-based communities. Those things require that people know how to read them, if you will. And all of those practices impact our conception of literacy, and they shape the way we view and use language. So in an information age, it's essential to prepare students for these literacies that we see up on the screen, because they are central to the use of information, and they're central to the acquisition of knowledge. So the traditional definition of literacy is no longer sufficient in and of itself. As the medium of the message changes, comprehension process, decoding process, what counts as literacy has to change so that it reflects the readers and the author's present-day strategies. So today, we receive words not just in print, but they come to us through powerful pieces of media, and there are layers of meaning in these media pieces, and they have their own rules or grammar that express multi-layered concepts about the world. So if our students are going to navigate through a media culture, they need to be able to fluently read and write those images just as they do the images and the text in printed messages. One of the things that what I love to do in my free time is to bake. And so a lot of my references are all food-based. And as I was thinking about how to make an analogy to integrating technology and thinking skills, I thought this is very comparable to baking a cake. And when I bake, I start with a base. And for me, in this instance, the base is the standards. So standards like the National Educational Technology Standards or the Common Core Standards, those are the things that form my learning goals, my learning objectives. And then to those, I will add the digital tools to add a depth of flavor. And then to that, I will add that component that will make everything else rise. And in this instance, thinking routine. So as we go through the webinar today, we're going to look at how we choose those digital tools and pair them with the routines so that everything is balanced and one component doesn't overshadow the others. What I do is I will identify a specific standard and think about what the target is for this lesson. And the central question is, how can technology add depth to what I'm doing? And then I will look at those learning goals in the larger context, everything from my anticipatory set to my objectives to my checks for understanding and the guided and independent practice. And at each of those junctures, I think about where could I use technology to deepen the experience or to see something about the students that I might not otherwise find. And I also think about my groups of students and the technology, the hardware that I have in my classroom. So I think we have or do you have iPads? Do you have basic computers? Are your students working in pairs? Are they working individually? And then how are the digital tools you're using going to extend their learning beyond the classroom? And the key piece that I keep in mind is that technology is a tool, is learning is the goal. So if you think about that first, that integration is going to be much more meaningful and purposeful. When I look at the second component, choosing the digital tools themselves, things that I keep in mind are some frameworks like the EEE framework or the SAMR framework. And the EEE framework was designed by Liz Cole, who is the U of M professor, and her EEE has engage, enhancement, and extension. The engagement is with making the content more accessible to the kids and creating active learning. The enhancement of the technology should deepen and demonstrate student understanding, and then the extension will bridge that learning to everyday life. And I've used that on a scale here to show that all of those components should be balanced in that basic learning that you're creating. The SAMR model is a little bit different. There are 4 levels, and they move up in complexity. The EEE focuses on technology enhancing the learning goal or extending the learning goal, whereas the SAMR model will focus on refining the learning tool. So I will use both of those pieces together. And I created a Google Doc that's accessible. The link to that is on the very last slide of the presentation. There's more links to the SAMR model, to many of the things that we're covering, so you'll have access to those resources. All of the content for this presentation is based on the book Making Thinking Visible by Ron Rickert and Mark Church and Karen Morrison, and also the website from Harvard's Project Zero. And I have used one of their videos that is listed in the chat box. And if you would take a moment to watch that video, that will give you a quick rundown on what we mean by visible thinking. And then click on the green check when you come back. Into the text. Those are all of the things that visible thinking helped me do in my classroom. And I'm excited to move forward and show you how just a few simple tools can really get at all of those big ideas that we noticed on the landing page. So thinking routines in a nutshell, just to summarize, are routines. They're sets of questions or very short steps that you do again and again and again in listening routine until they really become a part of the fabric of your classroom. And you can use these across grade levels, across content areas. They are goal specific. They target a particular type of thinking. You can use them with individuals or groups, and they absolutely are effective without technology. The benefits of visible thinking are many. One of the main ones that really draws me to it is that I find it really gives me an insight or a window into what makes them tick. I feel I have a better handle on their insights and their misconceptions, and if I'm aware of that, I'm then better able to respond to it. And also, having that knowledge about my students, a deeper knowledge, then helps me prepare my lessons in a more meaningful way, and it helps me create learning activities that are more meaningful and create engagement. So we're going to go ahead and look at the thinking routines themselves. The first one is See, Think, Wonder, and I found this is a routine that teachers easily grab onto. On this slide, there to the left is a chart that we created. We've been doing a nonfiction unit of study, and what you begin with is taking an image of some sort. It could be a photo, it could be an artwork. When I use it in my leaders workshop, we will look at book cover illustrations from the text, and then the students will observe that image, and we go through and talk about what actively looking means. And so there's a process as we go through to encourage them to really look deeply at the image, not just stick with a surface observation. And I will do a lot of gentle guided questions to get them to look at particular areas or to get them to think about particular parts. And as you go through this more and more, they become more in tune, and you start to see a different level of how they observe things. So in the first row, there is a piece over here that says colorful rainbow. The child who said that said, I see a colorful rainbow. I think it's because there's rain in the picture, and the wonder was, I wonder if a rainbow appeared right after it rained, or if The rainbow appeared at later on when there was a certain temperature going on. So initially when we started this, my students were looking at these kind of discreetly, and they would focus on the C's, and then they would focus on the thinks and focus on the wonders. And we brought it to the point where they just do it as a stream. Like, I see this, and I think this, and I wonder this. And this is another example of student work. He has his C in this column, and his think in this column, and his wonder in this column. So he has, I see a big gray piece of rock, I see little pieces of corn, and I see a big rock. And then he explained what he thought. He said, I think the bowl's full of food. Based on what I see, I think that they help animals through their cages. What I find especially interesting as a teacher is when we say these, it becomes very clear their train of thought and how it becomes more developed as you work with these routines. When I introduce a routine, we'll do it in a paper form first with Post-it notes and charts, and then when they're familiar, then I will layer on that digital piece. So we've used a couple different digital tools. One of them is Scrumbler, the other is Padlet, and a couple times we've used Lino, and they all work really well. I think you just have to find, whatever your preference is. This is an example of a Padlet board where students were posting their responses to, it was their think part of the I see, I think, I wonder. And they will use, when we're doing Reader's Workshop, they will look at the image that's provided. Typically, we will do this at the beginning of a chapter, and it will create kind of an anticipatory set, and their thinks will provide that prediction, and that's either confirmed or not as they will go through the text. One of the things I really like to do that I find works well with my young children is when we will tie illustrations to literary elements. So, for example, you can look at how illustrations will give you more information about characters' actions, or how they work together with the text to talk about mood or the setting or the plot. And as you get them to look more and more deeply, they become more and more tuned into the text. And I will make, once we have worked with the images, then I will intentionally make a link to have them look more deeply at the text itself. So I will ask them and say,